Alright, let's jump into today's topic. It's a follow-up to our last video, where we'll dive deep into the connections between Iguro Obanai and some legendary stories from Japanese history.
If you haven't watched the first video about Iguro Obanai, the link's in the description. Make sure to check that out before we get started. So, Iguro Obanai's backstory says he's from Hachijo-ujima, which is part of Tokyo, right?
Exactly, and Hachijo-ujima has a rich history filled with legends. One of the most famous is the myth of Nyugogashima.
Oh, right. That's the legendary island where only women are born. And even if a man is born, he won't survive. I remember hearing that any man who washes ashore is used for repopulation. So escaping isn't easy.
Yep, that's the one. In Obanai's backstory, he's the first male born into his clan in 370 years. He grew up surrounded by women, just like in the myth of Nyugogashima.
I see. So, could the myth of Nyugogashima have influenced the background of Obanai's clan?
Definitely. The idea of a society dominated by women and where men are rare aligns with Obanai's upbringing. It seems pretty likely that the Nyugogashima myth inspired parts of his story.
Speaking of islands, doesn't One Piece also have a similar setting?
Yup, you're thinking of Nyugogashima, Amazon Lily. That island is also inhabited only by women. And there are a lot of similarities.
Like the names, right? Nyugogashima and Nyogashima. Both places are essentially women-only societies.
Exactly. And just like in Nyugogashima, men who enter Nyugashima are in big trouble. In Nyugogashima, men can't escape, and in Nyugashima, men are executed if they set foot on the island. It's a real survival of the fittest scenario.
Wow, both islands are brutal for men. And both places also have snake-related rulers. Obanai's clan was controlled by a snake demon, and Nyugashima is ruled by Boa Hancock, also known as the Snake Princess.
Right, and there's also the symbolism of the white snake. Hancock has a white snake called Salome, and Obanai has Kaburamaru, his white snake. The similarities just keep piling up.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if One Piece's creator was inspired by the myth of Nyugogashima.
Now let's talk about the legend of Anshin and Kiyohime. This is another famous story from the Heian period, filled with tragic love.
Oh, I remember this one. Kiyohime falls in love with the monk Anshin, but things go horribly wrong, and she ends up turning into a snake, right?
Exactly. The story starts when Anshin, a young and handsome monk, meets a beautiful girl named Kiyohime while on a pilgrimage to Kamana. She falls head over heels for him. But as a monk, Anshin can't return her feelings.
Right, and then Kiyohime doesn't give up easily. What does Anshin do next?
At first, Anshin is kind and promises to meet her again. But he's lying and actually tries to escape. He takes a different route to avoid her.
So Kiyohime realizes this and starts chasing after him. Right? That's some serious dedication.
Yeah, she's heartbroken and furious, and her emotions spiral out of control. Eventually, she transforms into a snake due to her rage.
Wow, turning into a snake because of unrequited love, that's intense.
It gets worse. As a snake, Kiyohime relentlessly pursues Anshin. He takes refuge at a temple and hides inside a giant bell. But Kiyohime coils around it and burns him alive in her fiery rage.
So Anshin dies inside the bell. What a tragic end.
Exactly. After that, Kiyohime, filled with despair over what she's done, takes her own life. But eventually, through the prayers of the monks, they're both able to pass on and reunite as celestial beings. It's a bittersweet ending.
A tragic love story where obsession leads to destruction. And there's definitely a connection to Iguro Obanai's story, especially with the snake imagery.
That's right. There are a lot of parallels between the legend of Anshin and Kiyohime and Obanai's story. Kiyohime's obsession with Anshin is similar to how Obanai was trapped by the snake demon's obsession.
And both stories heavily feature snakes. Kiyohime turns into a snake, and Obanai is known as the serpent Hashira, who's closely connected with snakes.
Exactly. There's also the theme of being trapped by fate. Anshin was cornered and couldn't escape from Kiyohime, just like Iguro was fated to be tied to the snake demon.
Not to mention, fire plays a symbolic role in both stories. Kiyohime uses fire to burn Anshin, and in Obanai's story, the snake demon is defeated by the flame Hashira. Fire is a key motif in both cases.
Good point. Plus, Kiyohime's obsession with Anshin's appearance mirrors how Obanai's unique eyes, his odd eye, heterochromia, attracted the snake demon's attention. There's definitely a shared theme of appearance-based fixation.
And then there's the unending guilt. Kiyohime can't find peace after killing Anshin, and Obanai is haunted by his past, fighting as if to atone for his sins.
Exactly. Both are characters chained to their tragic pasts, consumed by vengeance and obsession. So, looking at all these connections, it's clear that Iguro Obanai's story is deeply influenced by old Japanese legends, like Nyogo Gashima and the Anshin Kiyohime tale.
Knowing these legends really adds another layer to Obanai's character, doesn't it? It makes his story even more interesting to dive into.
So, everyone, as you follow Iguro Obanai's journey, keep these legendary connections in mind. It'll make the story even richer. Stay tuned for the next video.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.
See ya next time.